What up, G Life? This right here is beautiful California. Killer cow. You already know California is home to its beautiful weather, sandy beaches, the Hollywood nightlife, and all that good stuff. But it is also home to gang banging capital. It is no secret that California is heavily infested with neighborhoods from Northern California all the way to Southern, from black, white, Asian to obviously Hispanics. you know, California definitely has its shares of different neighborhoods from different sides representing, whether it's Crip, Blood, North, South, Asian, whites, like I said, and everything in between. Now, today we shall be covering the Santa Clarita Valley, the 661. The Santa Clarita Valley is an area that people often think that it is lovely, and it is. It's a nice area and stuff like that. But just like anywhere else, it has its dark parts to it, where it gets treacherous, where it's full of crime, murder, allegedly, and the works, right? So that's what we'll be covering today, the neighborhoods that call this place their home. So with no further ado, let's get into it. I keep it G like a G is supposed to. I'm from the old school, no one comes close to. Post it up and I do what I want to. Post it up and I do what I want to. I keep it G like a G is supposed to. I'm from the old school, no one comes close to. Post it up and I do what I want to. Post it up and I do what I want to. I keep it true and I mean every last word. I was fooled by the truth, real gangsters. White tee creased up with a strap too. I'm from the bottom where we earn all our tattoos. Boy, it's taboo when you living just like I do. Air is up and you know we keep it all blue. I keep it loony and I don't mean like cartoons. They talk brave till they hear that click, clap, boom. It is what it is, we do what the G's do. Celebrate so we hotbox the whole room.
You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment.
Now, to find the first neighborhood, we shall be heading towards the area that is known as the area of Valverde. Valverde is right here, located in the 661. It's a lovely area, but just like any other place, Valverde has its treacherous parts to it. That's just how it goes. And this is home to one of these neighborhoods that calls this place their home, which is known as the Barrio VVP. VVP standing for Valverde Park. Home to the Smoke Towns. You already know. The Smoke Town neighborhood. The Smoke Town is a clica off of the Valverde. I know people often think that the Smoke Town is its own separate neighborhood because of the way it sounds. It would sound like it would be its own individual gang, but it is actually a clica from the Valverde neighborhood because Valverde does have several cliques to them. So it's a part of that. So it's not its own separate neighborhood. And the Valverde Park neighborhood is actually one of the area's most oldest and largest gangs, Now, they're not as large as they once were, but don't get it twisted. This neighborhood was, a dominant presence, back in the days, and still hold a presence till nowadays, don't get it twisted. And their territory essentially is everything that is what's known as Valverde Park. You can find them, throughout all over, Valverde Park. Mostly at the park, obviously, is where they hang out. That's their main domain, their dojo. Where Valverde Park's at, and all the back streets is their home domain, their dojo. That's where it gets on and cracking. But like I said, you could essentially find them throughout all of, Valverde. And they do use the green rags. They are green raggers, but they are homeboys, right? And now, here's a fun fact. The Norteños also have a Valverde Park neighborhood to them, that are Norteños, right? In Northern California. I had done a separate video, breaking this down. So if you guys want to check it out, you guys could go ahead and scope out that video where I talk about, the neighborhoods, right? Because they have the same name, same abbreviations, all of that, bro. It's a trip, right? And people often thought that they were connected, and there was even stories that some of them had moved down here and started here, and et cetera, right? But I break it down in that video. But right here, they're homeboys. Even though they have blacks in their neighborhood and stuff like that, but it's a raza neighborhood. You know what I mean? And like I said, they are one of the largest and oldest in this area. Have been already right here since the early '80s. That this neighborhood was established, and at least from what I was told, there are a few hundred members to them. and they're still active and they still do their thing right there, holding it down for the VVP and the Valverde, green ragging homeboys that still hold it down right there in the Santa Clarita Valley 661 and still continue to put theirs on the map. Now, to find the next barrio on the list, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the area that is known as Newhall. And it is here in Newhall that you're able to find the next barrio on the list, which is known as the Barrio NH or BNH. BNH translating to Barrio Newhall. Now, Barrio Newhall is already one of, Santa Clarita Valley's most oldest and largest barrios, most recognizable neighborhoods. Because of the amount of territory and the numbers that they have, because this barrio is said to be a few hundred members to them, with several clicas to their barrio, like the ASTs and the Rascals and several other clicas to their barrio. And their territory is pretty massive. Their territory essentially is everything that's from 2nd, and from 2nd, their turf heads all the way to 16th Street. So that's from 2nd Street to 16th. So everything in the middle. So which, like 15, 14, 13, 10, and etc. You guys get, Essentially, you can find them throughout all of Newhall, throughout Railroad Avenue, from Railroad Avenue, that it slices through all of it, and the opposite end of Newhall. So that's from Railroad Avenue and Newhall Avenue that stretches through their neighborhood. But the heart of their hood, their main domain, their dojo, it's what's on 13th and Newhall. That's already the belly of the beast, throughout Walnut as well. 14th, all of that. But 13th and Newhall is the belly of the beast. That is the lion's den. That is essentially where it goes down. You know what I mean? But like I said, you can find them throughout that whole entire area, and throughout Arcadia Street, Arch Street, which is another one of, its clica. So obviously another one of its, main, territories. Because like I said, they're either on either end, from that end to that end. So, Arch Street is another street where you're able to find them doing their damn thing, and holding it down. And like I said, everything that's Market and Main, Walnut, 12, like I said, it's able to cover that much ground because it is a large neighborhood. You know what I mean? And they still be holding it down. They're still active. One of, like I said, the Santa Clarita area's most active neighborhood that you definitely hear about, going at it with the surrounding neighborhoods. They definitely tend to feud with all the other sets that surround them. But they still hold it down and still represent theirs and continue to put theirs on the map for that Newhall gang. You know what I mean? Now, as we make our way a little bit more up to the area now that is now from Newhall into Canyon Country, you're able to find the next barrio on the list, which is known as the Barrio SSR. SSR translating to Barrio Southside Riders. Now, Barrio Southside Riders was a tag banging crew that became a neighborhood, right? Roughly around the mid-90s is when this neighborhood, established themselves and, did their thing. Now, this neighborhood actually spread out to different areas. From what I was told is that it spread out to Northern California. So you do find them in Northern California as well. So they're just not located here in the 661, right? But now expanded to different locations. So as a whole, the neighborhood is more larger. But as in right here in this area, the neighborhood is a little bit more smaller. Roughly from what I was told is about 55 members to them. So one of the area's more smaller neighborhoods, right? And their territory is everything that's from Hanby Avenue. Their turf heads all the way to where the Santa Clarita River's at. From that, the territory still stretches out towards Langside Avenue. Langside Avenue, their turf extends all the way to Soledad Canyon Road and back around. Everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio, which is not a large chunk of territory, but still the territory. What's Pine Hills, Fairweather, all that area, right? And all the back streets. It's what's considered the Southside Riders territory. Like I said, it's not a large territory and it's not a large gang, but these individuals do their thing and hold it down right there, feuding with the surrounding neighborhoods and still continue to put theirs on the map for the SSR right there. Now, another neighborhood that you have right here in this area, right, the area that is known as Canyon Country, is the Barrio CNS. CNS translating to Barrio Canons, or how they say it in Spanish, Cañones. Barrio Cañones, meaning canyon. That is the translation. That is the reason for the name of the barrio. And this barrio is roughly a small neighborhood, right? Another small neighborhood, but nonetheless have real individuals, have made headlines. So these individuals were doing their damn thing. You know what I mean? And their territory essentially is everything that's from what's Canyon Country throughout White Canyon Road that slices through their neighborhood, all the back streets that's on White Canyon Road. So what's White Canyon and um, Pensadale, Stillmore and White Canyon is actually the heart of the hood. That is the belly of the beast. That is their main domain. That is their dojo. You know what I mean? That is, throughout those back ends is where you're able to find these individuals doing their damn thing. Like I said, they're not a large neighborhood. From what I was told, is there were roughly only about 45 members to themselves, so they weren't a large neighborhood, but nonetheless, real individuals. As a matter of fact, they attended right there in Sierra Vista Junior High, right? That's actually where, they established themselves, where they started from. Right, but yeah, this is a real barrio that still continues to represent theirs and the CNS, and still continue to put theirs on the map. Now, as we maintain still here in Canyon Country, right, but now heading a little bit more upper, is where we're able to find the next barrio on the list, which is another neighborhood that's a little bit roughly more of a smaller neighborhood, but still nonetheless do their thing, which is the Barrio MMS. Barrio MMS translates to Barrio Mexican Malditos Sureños, or Mexican Malditos, right? And this neighborhood, actually, from what I was told, at least this is from what I was told, is that this neighborhood actually established in Texas, in Houston, Texas, but members had moved down over here and established their neighborhood right here, right? So as a whole, they are a lot more larger, right? Because they do originate out of Houston, Texas, but now established right here, right? But they are homeboys, for the MMS. Right, and their territory is everything that's throughout Sierra Highway. Their territory extends all the way to Nick Ziegler Lane. I think that's how you pronounce it. And from that all the way to Serban Lane. Serban Lane all the way to Sundowner Way. From Sundowner Way, the territory heads all the way to Soledad Canyon Road and back around. Everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio. Like I said, not a large chunk of territory, but still their territory. Everything that's through where the Diamond Park apartments are at, throughout those back ends, is where you're able to find the Mexican Malditos Sureños. And like I said, this neighborhood was roughly was always a small neighborhood right here with only 35 members to them. So like I said, they didn't grow large, but they still handle their business, right? And at least from what I was told, they seem to have a good relationship with the SSR and the Canyons, but feud with the other neighborhoods, the more larger neighborhoods around the area, right? So the smaller neighborhoods tend to hang out together than the larger ones, right? But like I said, real neighborhood that still holds it down right here for theirs and continue to put theirs on the map. Now, as we continue right here in the Santa Clarita area, now to find the next neighborhood on the list. Now, this is another one of the area's more larger neighborhood that's more recognizable that you hear about. They've definitely been doing their damn thing, which is the Barrio BF. BF translating to Barrio Brown Familia. Now, Barrio Brown Familia is one of the area's, more active neighborhoods. Their territory is pretty massive as well. You can find them everything that's throughout Sierra Highway all the way to Jackway. From Jackway, the territory still extends to the opposite end towards Antelope Valley Freeway, towards that end, all the way back to where the Santa Clarita River's at and back around. Throughout like Sandy Drive, all of that, right, is what's considered their barrio, right? But Jakeway is pretty much, where you could find them roaming around, right? Everything throughout the area that is known as the River Ranch Townhomes, is where you're able to find their neighborhood, right? Where they do their damn thing. Now, this neighborhood is a few hundred members to them. Like I said, one of the area's most active bunch, right? Who have been around since the early 90s that this neighborhood was established. They are brown raggers, but they are homeboys, but they use the color brown, obviously, for Brown Familia. And like I said, they have no connection to the other Brown Familia neighborhoods, just the same common name, you know what I mean? I covered that in a separate video if you guys want to, go check that out, because there is several Brown Familia barrios. But this one right here is, is separate from the rest. And yeah, like I said, bro, they do handle their business. They've been doing their thing right here in the area, feuding with the surrounding, barrios, because like I said, they're a powerhouse. Rest of powerhouses, clashes and all that, right? They made headlines, the news. It works, bro, it ain't no joke right here in the Santa Clarita area. That's what I be telling people. Just because it looks nice doesn't mean that it is nice. You know what I mean? Don't ever judge a book by its cover, because that could be a fatal mistake because this barrio been doing their damn thing right here and continue to still do their thing and putting theirs on the map for the Brown Familia. Now, another neighborhood that you have right here, but this one being just tag bangers, but I know it's going to get brought up, right? But they do make noise. They do, put in their work. You do hear about these individuals, which is known as the Barrio WC. WC translating to Barrio White Canyon Street, right? Because they're located on White Canyon is where their barrio is located at, right? It's a little bit more of a smaller neighborhood, like I said, because they're just taggers. Well, tag bangers, right? Because their thing is not really like, graffiti thing. It's more like, banging. And like I said, this barrio, at least from what I was told, is that this crew is roughly about, 50 heads to them. So, they are pretty decent in size, for being a crew, and they do make noise, you know what I mean? They have been arrested for shootings and stuff like that. So they, claim territory, they do the gunplay. My boy, they move and act just like a neighborhood, you know what I mean? So that's why I decided to add them on here because I know it's going to get brought up. So you do have the White Canyon streets right here, and they still continue to be active and doing their damn thing.